The reason that a lot of the European Jews went towards Palestine, and it wasn't just because they wanted to establish a state, it's because the anti-Semites who are supporting the genocide today, the anti-Semitic Europe, anti-Semitic America that refused to let the Jews enter America when they were trying to flee Germany, the anti-Semites had kicked the Jews out and gassed them and persecuted them, that led to these Zionist Jews to say we need to establish an independent state. I'm not justifying it, I'm saying that the reason they came in the first place is that those who today are saying we support Israel, they are the greatest anti-Semites you will find in history. They are the anti-Semites as defined by anti-Semitism, not the ones who are being massacred in Palestine. That's the first point. The second point is this. You have to remember what the global order looked like at the time. It was a world in which half the world was colonized by 5 powers. By Britain, by France, by Italy and the like. Even the League of Nations that would become the United Nations, it wasn't a United Nations of 100 and something countries. It was a United Nations of 6 colonial powers that would sit together and they would negotiate like Sykes-Picot how to divide the world up. And this is how they viewed Palestine, in that we decide the fate of Palestine. So the Zionist project, not the Jewish project. Jews were living in the region side by side, and in the book Road to Mecca by Muhammad Asad, written by an Austrian Jew who later became Muslim, who writes about Palestine at the time, says in his book, and bear in mind he's writing the book before Israel is established, he writes in the book that Jews who have lived in the region for centuries have no problems with the Muslims, but there is something to fear about the European Zionists coming in with their settler ideology. He writes, I fear that the ideology these European settlers are bringing threatens the very fabric of society that has existed as coexistence for the past centuries. There are 2 cities in Europe that are objectively considered to be the epitome of coexistence in Europe. Does anyone know what those 2 places are? The first is Andalusia, Cordoba, Sevilla and the like, because when the Muslims ruled it, it was considered a haven of coexistence of the 3 religions. When the Muslims ruled it, before anti-Semitic Isabella came out and crushed it. The second is Sarajevo of Bosnia, because when the Muslims ruled Bosnia, Sarajevo was where you would find the Jews, Christians and Muslims living side by side, until the Austro-Hungarians came in and began to persecute the Muslims in the Balkans, because they were horrified that their own kind had become Muslim and refused to give up Islam, because they said Islam spread by the sword. They assumed if you get rid of the sword, people will come back to their religion. The Bosnians refused to do so, and therefore they remained Muslim, and they were persecuted as a result. The reason why I mention all of this is the colonial powers at the time, the Zionist project pitched to these colonial powers that we can be an outpost for you in a barbaric jungle. That you don't want us in your lands, fine. The Daily Mail of the United Kingdom said we need to get rid of these Jewish aliens. The Zionist project, they said, listen, you don't want us in your country, fine. You don't want us in Europe, fine. But if you give us the land of Palestine, we promise to be your outpost in this barbaric jungle. As Robert Kennedy, is it Robert Kennedy you guys have over here? He repeated the same words as well, where he said, we need to stand with Israel because it's our outpost. Those are not his words, those are the words of the Zionists in their pitch to the British colonial power, that we can be your outpost if you allow us there. So,